when we talk about breakout players this year for Tennessee's offense, it is not a wish or a want. It's mandatory, right? Because either Nico and or Bru McCoy have got to be there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and place them above breakout stature. They're all but proven commodities to me based off what I've been told and what little I've seen them play. So give me somebody else. Who's the other breakout offensive player that the Vols have to have step up to have a successful 2024 season? We want your thoughts on the message board. We did this yesterday, had a great time with it. Do you want to go first or second, Caleb? And it'll be on, once we come up with 4 good finalists, it'll be on our YouTube page as well as a poll question.
I can go first.
Uh-oh, he's cocky. I can sense this. Yeah, go ahead.
Mine's a little unglamorous.
Okay.
Like, remember the Fergie song? G-L-A-M. Okay, sorry. O-R-O-U-S. Okay.
Let's get hella back to topic.
Yes. Nice little Fergie shout out, 2006. I'm going to say Lance Hurd.
That's Vince Stefani that did the hella song. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to say Lance Hurd at left tackle. Lance Hurd has to break out for Tennessee at left tackle this year if Tennessee is going to do what they need to do. I believe in John Campbell at right tackle. I think they flipped him for a reason. I'm not saying he'll be darn all right, but I think he'll be serviceable. I have no reason to doubt Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins on the inside, provided they stay healthy. Left guard is a question, but I don't think anybody's going to break out there. The best you can hope for is that somebody is not a complete and total catastrophe there. So I'm going to say Lance Hurd at left tackle is going to be my guy who has to break out.
All right, let's take a look at our message board so far. We have a Dylan Sampson vote, and Tyler, you should definitely subscribe. Go ahead and do that. Dylan Sampson definitely deserves to be on that list. My question with Dylan Sampson, is he big enough to be an every down back? So is he going to have – I don't think he is. So to me, to be a true impact player, you've got to touch the ball 20 to 25 times a game. He seems more like a 12 to 15 times a game to me. But I'm going to put him on the list because I think he deserves to be there.
Dylan Sampson's a good one. If you would ask me like Squirrel White, I'd be like, hasn't he already broken out? Like, if he emerged, would he really be a breakout player for Tennessee? I mean, I guess theoretically he would. But so is Dylan Sampson your pick?
Here's what I've got. Here's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Lance Hurd, Dylan Sampson, Squirrel White, or any other tailback.
So I'm going to push back. I think, I mean, because David Michael said my guy, if you're going to put a receiver, I think it's Dante Thornton.
It's Dante Thornton.
Squirrel White's going to be Squirrel White. Are there any questions about Squirrel White in the slot? We know what he can do. He needs help from the outside.
Well, that to me comes from Bru more likely than it comes from Dante.
But Dante has to take pressure off Bru.
Well, but that to me mid-season is more about Mike Matthews than it is about Dante. So I'm not saying it starts the season like that, but I'm saying by mid-season it might be like that. Listen,
here you were out here trying to criticize me for being critical of Dante Thornton earlier.
No, I wasn't. I think we so quickly said with Joe Milton, he played one good game, everything's going to be fine. And you see Dante Thornton make one play and he gets hurt on that play and everything's going to be fine. Let's be smart and take a step back for a second. Maybe that just is what he is, what we saw last year. So I still think Squirrel White has more upside than Dante Thornton. And I think you might look at me with a gasp face when I say that.
No, I think Squirrel White could be amazing. I just don't know if I consider Squirrel White breaking out. Like, we've seen what he can do.
If you had a draft, if you're in the NFL and you had a draft a receiver right now, would it be Squirrel White or Dante Thornton?
Squirrel White. Because I can use Squirrel White in so many other ways. I can have him as a kick returner. I can use him on like gadget plays. You know who he could be like is who I felt the NFL never used properly. Remember Trendon Holiday for LSU?
I do. I remember him very well. A little stockier. Yeah, I could see that. Then the other guy that was probably even more stalker, Percy Harvin, was kind of that kind of player. Z
Yes,
Flex agrees
exactly.
with you. He says Squirrel White has already proven he's going to have an awesome year. I tend to think so too. So are we in agreement that we think the 3 receivers are Brew, Dante, Squirrel? Is it as simple as that?
Brew, Dante, and Squirrel. Brew and Squirrel. I'm actually with you that, and this is me contradicting myself, I'll admit it, but I'm with you that Mike Matthews could be so good he could take Dante's starting spot on the other side by the end of the year. And then next year, I think Mike Matthews in 2025 will be the go-to receiver for Tennessee. I think we're looking at a rarely talented player. And Derek Owen brings a good point. Derek says Chris Brazzell. I keep forgetting Chris Brazzell. Everybody touted him in the spring as a possession receiver. So maybe I'm wrong because...
Well, and I had somebody that told me that they thought that he was one of the more talented players on Tennessee's football team, that he was, and they used the term, and this person doesn't speak lightly, for real. So we probably leave him out of our conversation on a daily basis too much. So I hope that doesn't.
He's kind of the. Is he going to be this year's Ramel? Is he this year's Ramel Keaton? Like kind of the unglamorous possession guy that you throw his way when he's open and you know he'll make the catch.
No, he's last year's Dante Thornton. If Dante Thornton would have been what we thought that Dante Thornton was going to be.
Oh, so you think it's athleticism? I thought it was him as just a possession receiver.
I like it, but based off who I was talking to, I liked his athleticism. I mean, practice is closed so much you rarely get to see that sort of thing. But I like his athleticism. As far as an impact player that we didn't mention, it's whoever's playing left guard. And you cannot have A-gap problems. And Andre Keurig would supposedly be that guy, but there's some uncertainty there. I mean, Caleb, how troubling is that you pick up a transfer from Texas, a big school, and he's not ready to play right away, really? I mean, he kind of is. And I know you had the Cooper Mays injury, but now he's not completely ready to play. That, to me, is troubling, and it speaks to your assessment of Tennessee's evaluation of offensive linemen.
Yeah, that's been my knock on Heupel for the longest time. That's been Jimmy Hyam's knock on Heupel. My knock on Heupel goes beyond that. I've been critical of Heupel in just evaluating talent, period, full stop. Okay, he has not hit on people he's recruited. He's got a very bad batting average at this point. So
do you think he is too loyal to Glenn Ellerbe? The offensive line coach, those guys have been together forever. I'm sure Ellerbe has taken some average players like Darnell Wright and turned them into elite players. So you remember those things, but you might not remember that you haven't had a bunch of elite offensive linemen, because that's not as fun to think about. But he hasn't over the course of his career.
But Glenn Ellerbe is such a good developer of talent that I think that's why he hasn't been too loyal. I think Josh Heupel has tried. It's been harder to recruit offensive line to this point because of Tennessee's situation. So I think they're taking certain risks that they typically shouldn't take.
Z-Flex nailed it. Sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Okay. So, yeah, I think they're taking risks that they maybe necessarily shouldn't take, as opposed to just going for more refined guys. But Heupel's taking risk all over. I mean, the guy took a risk on Joe Milton. He fell in love with Joe Milton's arm and thought, I can make this guy a superstar Hall of Fame quarterback in college. And to me, that is a real big question mark. And Travis says Darnell Wright was never average, but Darnell Wright was not recruited by Josh Heupel. The people Josh Heupel.
No, he's referring to what I said about turning from average to elite. When I say average, I meant when the guy showed up at 6'5", 300 pounds as a true freshman. Every freshman is average. I didn't mean to besmirch his reputation at all. He has never been an average football player on the same plane of the rest of the players he's playing against. But when he showed up, he was a young whippersnapper, and they turned him into a first-round pick. That was my only point. Yeah,
so Glenn Ellerbe develops the talent. They've got to figure out how they can get
it was to Travis's point, though, he was a 5-star prospect.
He was a 5-star. Yeah. I mean, out of West Virginia. So I don't know if he's too loyal to Glenn Ellerbe. I do agree it's a red flag, but again, this is just Josh Heupel's talent evaluation in general to me. Also, maybe I'm being unfair. I mean, again, this is Josh Heupel's 4th year on the job. He's lived with the transfer portal. There hasn't been a lot of chances for guys he recruited to get onto the field just yet. So, maybe I'm being a little unfair.
Very true.